Hi guys, this is Girish here. This video is going to be about a project that I'm collaborating with MSI. I'll be working on MSI's mascot called Lucky, who's a cute little dragon. I'll be working on right from start to finish and doing a blockout in ZBrush all the way to texturing in 3D code and rendering it out in Marmoset toolbag. Hopefully some of you guys will find this video helpful, and I'm certainly going to have a lot of fun doing it, as I do have the creative freedom to do what I want, but I still have to be faithful to the concept. So yeah, let's get started.
Awesome. So let's start with the blockout phase, guys. I mean, in this phase, I keep duplicating spheres and stacking them upon each other. This is similar to how we can make balloons form like a figurine. So it is very similar to that. But this stage is very important as we get a sense of volume and proportions, and you're looking out for the big picture of the character, like sense of weight, balance, and silhouette, and not necessarily about the details. Correct. So now let's talk about the concept art. This dragon is actually based on MSI's mascot called Lucky. The best thing actually about the project is that I have the entire creative control of the character when it comes to design. Saying that, I mean, I still need to make sure that the design doesn't deviate too far from the concept, that it is unrecognizable. Actually, this is probably the hardest part of the project for me. So let me quickly talk about the UI that I have. It's a custom one that I made based on the brushes and the features that I commonly use across the projects that I work on. Over the years, I find using very simple brushes. I don't use that many brushes across the project, as you can see. And even in terms of features, I mean, I use very limited number of features based on the type of projects that I do, of course. But if you do work on a project that involves many characters, a particular art style, I would definitely recommend investing in quite a bit of time initially to create brushes that you can use across these characters, as it will just save a lot of time during production or probably during the end of the production. Even though the character is in an early blockout stage at the moment, I quickly start working on the forms of the head. As you can see, I'm just trying to put my ideas up on the clay and not really worried about the cleanliness of the sculpt, so you don't see me smoothing out the forms that much at this moment. So let me go over what I'm doing right now. I'm creating a ZBrush layer for the head and trying out different shapes and design for the head. Let me just talk about the ZBrush layers for a second here, as I use it so much and it gives me the flexibility to experiment with design and be really bold with the choices I make. The best part is that I can go back and forth with the layers and sometimes even blend between the two and come up with a new, a really cool version. It's totally a non-destructible workflow, and I really recommend it. Okay, so now, as you can see, I have the shape of the head more or less towards what I had in mind. I feel this is closer to the concept compared to the two versions I just had earlier. The first version I had, I felt like it looked more like a T-Rex, and the second one felt more like a lizard. So I just went in between the two of them. So this one I felt is looking more like the concept. I mean, the shape of it does feel like a simple square and or a box, but does, I think, it manages to retain the form and the plane changes that I had in the initial sculpt. So yeah. So talking about the design and matching the concept, the major change that I have deviated from the concept is around the body region. The body type of the dragon feels a little bit more like human in the concept, and I wanted my design to feel more like dragon. So I ended up giving the character a big belly and a narrow neck. I felt like this makes him more like a dragon and also makes sense in terms of weight distribution. For instance, the bigger belly with the tail helps the character stand in a very well balanced way. Okay guys, so let's begin the high poly stage. Let me just talk a little bit about what I just did before starting the high poly. I dynameshed all my subtools together and I Z remeshed it. I actually used a plugin called Easy Remesh. I think it's by Francis Xavier, and you can probably find that in ArtStation. It's just a fantastic one, but you can use your regular Z remesher as well. It's probably the same thing. I'm not really bothered about the topology of the mesh at the moment. All I need is basically a decent topology for sculpting. You know. On top of, and that's pretty much it. But the only thing I did before doing it was that I opened the mouth of the dragon and also relaxed the feet, so that while remeshing, the whole thing doesn't merge into one. So I do have those areas separated, and because eventually when I sculpt it, I probably would subdivide them, or I should say, like, I would separate them by polygroups. So that's the only thing I did. So yeah, I mean, that's like the first pre-step that I do for sculpting. So I Z-remesh all the subtools before I start sculpting the details. When I mean details, at this stage, all I'm doing is I'm sculpting the secondary forms. I'm not looking at any tertiary details like skin pores or scars or anything of that sort. I usually leave that to the last stage, and if it's necessary. And most likely I'm looking at the plane changes within the the character, and because I feel like that really is important when you're trying to achieve a believable form. I mean, even though it is a dragon, you still need to believe that there is like muscle and bone underneath that form. And even though it is stylized, also it's not an excuse. We still need to look out for those plane changes. And you can see me adding wrinkles or folds into these sort of specific areas, and I feel it's extremely important, as it just gives a sense of weight or compression to the form. And now I'm trying to give a little bit of color, and I poly paint these colors based on the concept. I do this for all my characters at this stage, as it just helps me to get the whole overall feel of the character. Apologies here, guys, as I forgot to hit the record button while working on the hand, but luckily I did have the ZBrush history to make a time lapse, so yeah. Okay, so what I'm doing here is similar to what I did in the blockout stage. I'm creating a ZBrush layer and trying out a different arm position and size of the palm and so on. As I said last time, ZBrush layers it's just incredibly powerful, and I really recommend it, as it just helps us to get our ideas out there, and without the fear of I'm going to lose what I had before. And it's such a non-destructible workflow that it's just extremely useful. Now it's time to work on the wings. I use the curve quad fill brush to create a basic shape. Then I actually Z-remesh yet again to get a good foundation of decent topology. And while the topology is still low, I use the clip brush to get really smooth curves around the border regions. And then I proceed to start sculpting the secondary forms on top. For this character, I was never keen on sculpting the dragon scales, but yet I wanted to get some sort of texture feel on top. So I'm using a standard brush with like a mask to create like random spots of different shapes and sizes. Then I extract the mesh from the mask, and once again I Z-remesh the spots, and then proceed with the high poly sculpt. For both hands and feet, I wanted to try some different design rather than just having tube-like shapes for the fingers. So I'm intentionally inflating the ends to add a little bit more character to the dragon. And regarding the nails, I follow the same procedure as before, by creating the shape using a basic sphere and then dynameshing followed by Z-remesh to sculpt the high poly details. Things like creating indentations inside the skin where the nails intersect with the fingers is extremely important. These are like small details that is often ignored, but adds so much of believability to the sculpt, irrespective of the art style. Okay guys, in order to save time for this video, I have to skip a small part where I repeat the same process of adding fingernails to the hands, similar to the feet. Alright, so we're almost at the end of the video and the high poly. This is the time I make some last minute fixes and polish to the mesh. I mainly use Polish D, H Polish or brushes by Michael and Shim Dynamic for doing this. And now let's look at the character next to the concept. And I'm really happy with the result. I do feel that I've captured the cuteness and essence of the character in my sculpt. And now we can move on to the next phase. And thank you so much for watching.